Welcome to Leading Questions, where we talk about the pivots, the leaps, and the messy middle of change. I'm your host, Susie Gidseg, a longtime social and content leader who's also in the middle of a big pivot myself. So welcome. This season is about the people who are brave enough to bet on themselves, to leave comfort for possibility, to rebuild after disruption, and to find new meaning in what's next. Because sometimes the best way to lead is to start by asking a better question. Today's guest is Andrea Bridges-Smith. She's a creative leader, entrepreneur, and someone who quit her high-paying corporate job to start a production company. She's the CEO and executive producer of San Phoenix. So Andrea, welcome to Leading Questions.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
So today we're going to jump into it. We're going to talk about all my favorite things: fear, risk, creativity, and what happens when you stop waiting for permission, which I think is something many of us have done our whole lives, and start building something of yourself. So let's start at the beginning. You said you quit your corporate job to start your production company. Talk me through it. What was that like for you? How did you come to that decision?
So I was in corporate America for, a very long time working for various tech companies, doing the marketing for them. And I chose that career path despite being a really creative person because it felt safe, because I didn't want to struggle. I'm a person that likes stability and calm and much like Mary J. Blige, I do not appreciate no drama. So then I kind of got to a point where I had been given a really exciting project to work on, and I loved it. And then when that was done, they were like, cool, we're going to have you go back to, kind of writing email copy. And I was like,
Mm,
but I know how to do other things now. Like I have a whole new set of skills, and it just felt like they weren't being used. I had been supposed to move into a role that was going to be really cool. And it didn't happen, and it kept not happening, even though everybody said it was going to happen. And I was like, why? And so if I may get woo woo with you for a
Oh, I
minute,
love, I love some woo-woo. Let's go.
great. I'm just going to sprinkle some woo all over the top of this. So I asked the universe to give me a sign during this period of uncertainty because remember, I like stability and
Yes.
I was not getting stability. I had like 5 bosses in 1 year. So I asked the universe to give me a sign that everything was going to be okay. And I picked Raspberry Beret by Prince. Not because I'm the biggest Prince fan in the world, but I was like, it's an old song. You don't hear it very often. And so if I hear that song, I can take that as a sign. I'm not gonna cheat and pick like a Taylor Swift song
Yeah, that
that's
would
on
be
the radio
cheating.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, universe, I didn't hear that song for months. It was like that song never existed. I made the decision inside myself and I was like, I am not going to be working here next Christmas. And that was just like a feeling way down deep in my gut. And then a few days later, I was doing karaoke and I was halfway through singing the song before I remembered that that was the song.
So you had just totally left your mind.
I had forgotten about it at that point. And so fast forward to the really bad day where I said, fuck this, I'm out.
Mhm. Mhm.
I left. I had to pick up something on the way home. I called my husband from the parking lot and I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I have to get out. And he was like, okay, let's figure out how to do it. And I was like, okay. And then of course we had to figure out what to do for dinner because God damn it, dinner happens every single day, doesn't it?
It really does. So many decisions.
It's just constant. So I was like, I obviously am not cooking anything because of the day that I have had. So I'll just pick up a pizza on the way home. So I'm right by Pint House Pizza and I pull up their website to make an order. And their beer of the month, I shit you not, Susie, was raspberry beeré. And I was like, okay, thank you. Got it. I will proceed.
Look how Prince and the universe gave you a sign. And you know what? Like I said, we love a little woo-woo, but I love how you had put the seed out there. You thought about it. You were intentional about it. Probably done a little planning in your head, but when you saw the sign and your gut aligned, you were ready to go. And that's a
Exactly.
brave and really scary thing to do.
It was so scary and it's still scary. And I don't know if I will ever stop being scared, but I can tell you that the stability that I have today, that I thought I could only get from corporate America. You hear about layoffs all the time. I can't lay myself off. I'm the head of the company. Like, I cannot be fired. I still have to, like, go out and drum up business. And it is absolutely feast or famine. But you know what? I'm okay with that because I am in control. I am, driving the bus. There is not some nameless, faceless person somewhere else who's never met me making decisions about my future. And that feels like the most stable thing of all.
I love that, and that feels like our pull quote for our episode, but also I remember when we first talked back before we knew each other, I was about to kick off the second season of my podcast, but it was different. It was still about leadership. I was still in a corporate environment, and it was before my first layoff. And I think back to that moment of pivot, not even knowing that my life was about to change dramatically like 4 or 5 times, and
Yeah.
seeing you out there, like, who had made that decision on your own. It wasn't made for you, decided that you wanted to chase your own creativity, you wanted to believe in yourself, and you took the leap. It's an incredible thing to see, and it gives all of us that are waiting around in this messy middle a lot of hope. So I'm excited to dig in even more. What does your life like look like and feel like in ways that it didn't back when you were in corporate?
Parts of it are glamorous, but simultaneously not glamorous. So
Yeah.
when I'm, shooting a music video and there's a cool drone shot, I feel very glamorous and very cool. The unglamorous part is doing so much by myself. I do have a team, which is great, but I still end up doing so much work. And I'm okay with that. I would rather
Yeah.
have, I never want to be bored. And there's
Mm.
been nothing about this that has been boring.
It's so funny because the things that I was always looking for, like I told my husband early on, I was like, I want safety, I want security, I don't want to rock the boat. But also, if you're a creative person, which we both are, that little nugget of creativity, the minute you saw it in that project that you were excited about, or that you could envision it in your own life, and the idea that you could be creative every day in some way, even if you're working hard, like that doesn't go away. I always said that I needed a job to have creativity, autonomy, and I needed it to move fast. And if it had those 3 things, I was in. And if it was missing a significant portion of those things, that it probably wasn't the role for me. It sounds like we're very similar in those ways.
Yeah, I definitely, am super duper creative. Like that is all I do is just make things. And one of the things that was really a struggle working in corporate America and, to some degree for smaller companies that I worked at is, there is this box and you have to do things inside that box. I don't like the box. I hate the box. And everything that I do, I don't want to be in the same zip code as the fucking box. And that can be really stifling sometimes. And that was one of the things that led to me being like, I've got to get out of here. I've got to get to a place where I can be who I am, for
Yes.
money.
It's so interesting because I always told people, if you want to get the most out of me, don't put me in a tiny box and tell me to move forward. Like, say, I see you, I value all the things that you can bring, and let me give you a role where you can do those things. And
Yeah.
then the company will be so happy. And I think for me, I was in a unique position where I had those roles for many years. And I was like, wow, look how corporate America sees me, right?
Hmm.
But you have to be true to yourself and what you need to be successful. And I love that you know what you need and you're chasing it.
It sounds like you're kind of like me that you like a greenfield opportunity, of like, here's a problem, go solve it. We
Yes.
don't care how. And that's like
Yeah.
my favorite thing. And I think that's what makes me a good business owner is because a client can come to me with, whatever their problem is. And I can say, okay, let's try this. Let's try this, let's get wild. Let's, things that you haven't thought of. And yeah, those are the best kind of roles.
Yeah. You see a problem and you get to figure out how to solve it in a creative way. Like,
Yeah.
what fun. That's
Yeah.
probably things we wanted to do as children. And now we grow up and get to
Yes.
do it for money.
Yes.
What a joy. Okay. So you said your question to yourself was, how do you move forward faster and smarter? So what does that mean for you at this stage of your career and company and life?
So I have this many things that I would like to do. I'm stretching my arms very wide here for listeners. And now I'm going to move my fingers really close together. This is kind of what I can do, during the course of a normal day, given, my time, my energy, my other obligations to my family. And I have very big ambitions. And so I want to get there. And I've started using some different things that I never would have thought I could do. AI is actually also helping me a lot. So
Right.
I'm not like a coding programmer. Like it sounds so boring to me to just sit and write lines of code. But with the help of AI, I've actually built a couple of tools that have helped and kind of automate some processes that are just like manual, like click, 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 click. The boring stuff that I'm like, every time I did it, I was like, why am I spending my time doing this? It's been cool, and it also makes me feel powerful. It's like, what else can I do? Like,
Yes.
I didn't know that I could build Python code. Like, that's exciting. Like, what else can I do? And it's very empowering. And so I'm wondering, like, how to get to those goals faster. What are those tools that I can use to kind of speed things up, free up more of my time so I can spend more of it doing the things that I need to do to get to that next stage?
It's so interesting. I know you and I have talked about this like separately outside of the podcast, but like, yes, AI is here, and in some ways it's scary, and in some ways it's exciting, and in some way it's empowering us to be more creative. And that's the side I'm leaning into, you're leaning into. Like, there's a lot of stuff we want to do. We're only one person, there's only 24 hours in a day. And every time I'm asked what I think about it, I'm like, look, it's going to be my best friend. It's attached to my hip. We're learning together, we're exploring, we're testing tools. I know you are, I am, so many of our friends are. And then we're using it for good because the creativity and the innovation we have as people, AI is good, but it's not a human, and I want it to help us get further in our creativity and our leadership and what we're creating in the world.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I have found with AI is it's a good brainstorming partner. It
Mm,
doesn't come up with the best ideas. I do, but the
yes.
process of interacting it helps me get there. I would advise anyone who is like, I'll just have AI write this for me. Don't do that
Don't do it.
unless you want to make something boring, which then you can do that.
Okay, so you mentioned that you called your husband and you were like, "Today's the day I'm going." Did you feel you had 100% support whatever you needed to do?
My husband is super duper supportive and he had watched me struggle for the past, couple of years, just trying to make this puzzle piece fit, and it wouldn't fit. It just wasn't a mentally healthy environment. And so one night, what he said at dinner was the thing that kind of made me feel okay about letting go,
Yeah.
which was, I had been trying to hang on to this job, which had, I mean, I got paid very well and I had glorious health insurance. Like, this was some top notch, beautiful health insurance. And I was hanging on for that stability. And we were at dinner one night and I was explaining to him, like, here's all the stuff that happened today, which I would come home every day and just be like, ugh, ugh, this. And he was like, you know, you really haven't had any stability there for like the past year. And I was like, there are different kinds of stability: emotional stability, and there is financial stability, and there are different kinds of stability. I have one kind, but I very much do not have the other kind. And that is what I need. We did have to like sit down with our financial advisor and figure out, like, okay, how is this going to work? And, there's definitely been, it's hard getting a business up and running and successful. What really kind of sealed the deal was when I knew I was going to be leaving, I was like, okay, I have all this vacation time that I have not taken. I'm going to take it.
Good for you.
And I'm going to take it and I'm going to prepare and I'm going to spend that week painting my new office,
Um,
hiking, like doing all of these things, And I was such a different person that week that I took off of work. I was so happy. I was so energized. I was so like, yeah. And I did not feel beaten down at all like I did at work every day.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. And it turns out when I'm not beaten down, I do really good work. I do pretty good
Mhm.
work when I am beaten down, but when I'm not, babe, it's great.
That's so amazing. You got to like come back to yourself and remember what it was like. Like I know for me after the first layoff, it probably took me a month or two even to like not be attached to my phone. Like every single time it went off a tiny
Yeah.
bit, I'm like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do?
Right.
And all the parts of my brain that had been so reactive and in high stress, and not high stress because of the job, high stress because of the politics and because
Yes.
you didn't know what was going to happen to you every day. That's the stress that I don't think is mentally healthy. And like, I don't think any of us are really built to be in that kind of stressful environment. And that's why when I went to my next job, I was like, oh, yeah, give me the tough work all day long. That's great. I welcome that, but let me have some time to emotionally recalibrate and get back to a state where I feel like myself and I can do my best work and I see the
Yeah.
sun and touch the grass and paint the wall, right? Like those are all things that bring you joy and let you return to who you were before. Okay. So you quoted Jason Isabel, be afraid, be very afraid, but do it anyway. What fear has been the loudest for you? And is it the same now or has it changed?
It is, trying to find the balance of, okay, I have business right now and that's great, but I also need to be thinking about how do I bring in more business? And I've always been in marketing. I've worked with sales teams a lot and I have never, ever, 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 ever wanted to sell. I don't like selling. And
Same.
it's just a part of the gig when you're an entrepreneur. You constantly have to sell yourself. And so, worrying about like, I have to sell myself, but I don't want to. And I feel like I'm bad at it. But I have to because money, all of that. I get emotional stability. I get full control over my business. I get more time with my family and money some days is a question mark. And that's the trade that we're making.
Yeah. Can you imagine, the version of yourself that never left and it was still in that job? What does life look like for her?
I don't think that person would be engaged and alive and happy every day. I think that's a person that would be going through the motions and very short with the people around her and having some sort of midlife crisis. I don't know what the girl version of buying a Corvette is. Probably there would be a lot of Pinot Grigio involved, and I'm not saying there isn't Pinot Grigio involved now. There would probably be a lot more of it.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I remember reading some article somewhere and it was like overgeneralizing, but it was like millennials, their midlife crisis is a new creative project. And I was like,
Oh,
you're speaking to me and doing a podcast and like building a brand. Like, I will not identify with middle age, but I do identify with like, this is our time for reinvention in a
yes,
creative
yes.
way. I love it. Okay. So I have a couple of lightning round questions for you. What is another risk that you're glad you took in your life?
So there was one day where I had gone to Barton Springs and I was done, but I didn't really feel ready to go back home yet. So I called up a friend of mine and she was like, "Oh, we're having a party. Come over." So I went over there just in a bikini. And I was like, should I put clothes on over this? And I was like, it's just my friends. So I roll up to this party in someone's front yard in a
Oh my
bikini.
God.
I was doing martial arts at the time, so I was ripped. And there was this guy there, and I ended up talking to him, and now we have 2 kids.
Aw.
So I'm really glad that I took the risk of like, should I go to, should I you know what? I'm going to be social. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to go be with people and just be myself. And it worked out pretty well.
What a beautiful start to a life. I love it. Okay, what is a failure that you secretly celebrate?
Ooh, that that role that I was trying to get that I couldn't get, not getting that was the best thing that ever happened to me because if
Mm,
I had gotten it, I would still be there probably trying to make something work that was never gonna work because it couldn't work. I used to be so fixated on that to the point where it was, like, not healthy because I was like, "If I can just get this, then everything will be okay. Everything will be okay if this one thing happens." And I'm so glad it didn't. And everything is okay because that thing didn't happen.
mm, that is beautiful, and I resonate with that very much. Okay, is there a book, song, or quote that keeps you going?
I think, that Jason Isbell song really, "Be afraid, be very afraid, but do it anyway." Anytime I am feeling fear, that pops into my head, and I'm like, "Okay, fear, welcome to the party. Thanks for being here. I know you're trying to do something good, but go sit over there. I have shit to do."
And I think that is a perfect way to wrap up the episode. Courage doesn't mean that fear disappears, it means you move through it anyway. So, thank you for the honesty and the things that I was warned about, the F bombs. Thank you for being true to yourself. And thank you, audience, for tuning into Leading Questions and hearing Andrew's journey. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who's navigating their own pivot and subscribe for more conversations about risk, reinvention, and resilience. I'm Susie Gidseg, and this is Leading Questions. See you next time.